Imagine moving into your dream home, finally free from the nightmare of homeowners associations, only to discover that the woman living behind you claims to be the president of one. Now, imagine learning that not only is she a fraud, but she's been stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from your neighbors for over a decade. If you've ever fantasized about taking down a bully who thought they held all the power, hit that like button and subscribe. Because today's story, it's about how one petty tyrant's fake HOA crumbled, piece by piece, until she lost everything. And imagine being the one who finally exposes her. Setup: the dream house that came with a nightmare. When my wife and I finally found the house we wanted, it was perfect. Quiet street, great yard, plenty of space. And most importantly, no HOA. We were crystal clear on that. We'd heard the horror stories. Neighbors policing the length of your grass, fines for leaving a trash can out overnight, even letters about the color of your curtains. We wanted no part of that life. So, when a week after moving in, a smiling woman knocked on our door and introduced herself as the president of the HOA, we were confused. "Wait," I asked, "what HOA?" She gestured behind us. "Oh, the neighborhood back there. That's where the HOA starts." At first, she seemed pleasant enough. We shook hands, exchanged polite small talk, and honestly, we thought, maybe she's one of the good ones. But we were about to learn the truth. She wasn't just a bad neighbor. She was a predator. Conflict begins. The harpy shows her teeth. A couple weeks later, I hired an arborist to take down a massive tree limb hanging dangerously over the street. Safety first. They left behind neatly stacked wood rounds in the little green wedge of land next to the road, the strip we'd always been told belonged to the HOA. No big deal. I'd move them the next weekend. But the so-called president... She pulled into my driveway, rolled down her window, and unleashed pure venom on my wife, who had stepped outside. "You need to move that wood now. That's private property of the HOA. Move it now." My wife, petite, non-confrontational, tried to explain that I was out of town, that we'd move it soon. But this woman wouldn't relent. She kept shrieking until my wife, struggling furious, hauled every 100-pound log into the backyard by herself. When I came home and saw how exhausted and shaken she was, I was livid. I marched over to the woman's house. Not to yell. Not to fight. Just to tell her calmly that the way she had treated my wife was unacceptable. She refused to answer the door. Escalation, the hedge, the fence, and the lies. The following spring, the hedge in front of that same green strip grew wild, pressing so hard against our fence that it knocked down 2 sections. I emailed the HOA president, explaining the damage and asking her to address it. Her response: "It's not our hedge." I stared at the email in disbelief. It's in your green space." She doubled down, "That's not our green space." And just like that, her entire facade began to crack. I shot back, "Then why did you scream at my wife last summer for putting wood there?" Silence. Turning point. The investigation. That silence gave me all the fuel I needed. I started making calls, county departments, zoning offices, public works. For 2 weeks, I became obsessed. Finally, someone from the roads division gave me the truth. That strip of land? It wasn't owned by the HOA. It wasn't owned by anyone. It was part of the county's road right-of-way. And as if that bombshell wasn't enough, the official added, "Actually, there's no HOA registered in your subdivision. Not now. Not ever." I sat there, stunned. For years, this woman had lorded over her neighbors as the self-proclaimed president of a non-existent HOA. And the kicker, She had been collecting $300 a year from 36 households. That's over $100,000 stolen. The plot: exposing the scammer. I gathered my evidence. I printed letters, one for each household in the HOA. 36 envelopes. 36 stamps. Inside each, I explained exactly what I had learned from the county. No HOA had ever existed. All the dues they'd paid, all the fines, all the intimidation, it was all fraud. I hit send on the letters. And then I waited. Climax. Justice served. The neighbors erupted. Years of frustration, of feeling bullied, of quietly paying into the scam. Suddenly it all made sense. They banded together. And then, they did what any fed-up, red-blooded American would do. They sued her. And they won. Every penny, over $100,000, had to be paid back. The HOA president had no more HOA. No more power. No more stolen money. Just the wreckage of her own lies. The aftermath. The cherry on top. And here's where it gets delicious. During my digging, I found out she was a real estate agent. Not just any agent, a principal broker. Her entire career depended on her license. And that license, it was up for renewal. So I filed a complaint with the state licensing board, sending them every shred of evidence I had. Let's just say, her renewal was about to hit one hell of a speed bump. Karma doesn't always come fast. But when it does, oh, it's glorious. Picture it, a woman who had strutted around for over a decade, barking orders, collecting fake dues, pretending to wield power she never had, now stripped of it all. Her neighbors, vindicated. Her victims, compensated. Her reputation, shattered. And me, I got to sit back and watch the whole empire of lies collapse. It's funny. People like her think they're untouchable, that everyone else is too scared to question them. But all it takes is one person, one question, and one refusal to be bullied, and the whole illusion falls apart. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And of course, subscribe for more stories like this. Because sometimes, the sweetest justice is watching a bully lose everything.